Hey everyone, how you going? It is Thursday. We've had a whole lot of rain, so I thought I'd bring you along and show you what our yard looks like at the moment. Now obviously there's a lot of rubbish lying around. We're still in the process of cleaning up this new garden space, but we have a little bit of a river running through at the moment. So we had 45 mils since midnight, and with all the rain that we've been having lately, it's all just building up and nothing is everything is settling on the surface because the ground's already so wet. The plants are loving it though. I've got some flowers on my bean plants here. Which is great to see, and the fruit trees are really liking all the rain as well. We actually have a couple of small apples on one of the apple trees, which is pretty cool. These are second year fruit trees, so we're not expecting to get much in the way of any sort of fruit off any of them yet, but they're doing well at the moment. While I'm out in the garden, I'm going to grab a couple of potatoes to have with our dinner. Now, the potato patch is just about ready to harvest, but we'll leave it a little bit longer for a bit more to die off. But while we're waiting, we've been grabbing just a few off the surface to eat with our meals because, you know, they're really nice. So let's grab some of those. The tomatoes are also loving the rain, though the growth is going mad, but it means that I'm going to have to prune them a little more heavily because of all the moisture. Otherwise we'll have some issues with some fungal diseases on the leaves. So I'll have to make sure to prune them fairly hard just to make sure that there's enough airflow through the bottoms of them so that they don't get too sick before they get a chance to throw their fruit. Now, we pulled our garlic harvest a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, just before all the next lot of rain came in, so that it didn't get too wet in the soil. It wasn't a great harvest. It was elephant garlic and it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't great. I'm still trying to figure out which garlic works best for us because of the issues with our short days aren't very short, so dormancy isn't real great, but I'll keep on working on it. But I'll put a picture in here of the harvest that we got, and I worked on it today to preserve it. So I did some fermented in honey and some garlic confit, and I've got some footage of that and I'll show you how I did all that, and then I'll probably just roast the rest and make it into a paste and freeze it for us to use later. We love roasted garlic. First, there's the job of peeling the garlic, and if you've ever peeled fresh garlic, you'll know that it's quite an arduous task. You have to peel layer after thin layer of skin away from the bulb that hasn't yet set and cured and doesn't pull away like paper, it's more like a skin. Because these were round bulbs and didn't have clove shapes of their own, I'm slicing them into pie slice pieces, which are a little bit like their natural clove sizing. We like them to go smaller when we make the confit because I find that it tends to permeate the olive oil better, and I tend to use it in things like my homemade mayo, and then if they're smaller pieces, they puree into that homemade mayo a little bit easier. Top the pot off with olive oil to cover all the exposed cloves. This is just Kirkland's brand Costco olive oil. We find it a nice mild flavour and fairly inexpensive. Place it on a small burner on a low heat so that it comes up to a simmer and then stays at just a really slow simmer for a long period of time. As it bubbles along, it gets a little bit of a scum on the surface. We don't bother removing that because it's just bits of garlic, and we're not concerned about the confit being nice and clear because we use it spread on things or inside mayos or in cooking and that sort of thing, and it doesn't need to be clear. We're not real big on the aesthetic of it. You can skim that off if you so desire though. This has been simmering for close to 2 hours now. All the cloves are breaking down into a softer paste type consistency, and the aromas are really, really mellow but very definitely garlic. Garlic confit is not shelf stable. It will need to be stored in the fridge or freezer. If you're making multiple jars and you don't think you'll get through it within a couple of weeks, then you can store the jars in the freezer. Just make sure to leave the appropriate headspace to allow for the expansion as it freezes. Make sure that there is enough olive oil covering the cloves so that the cloves aren't exposed, that the olive oil is creating a cap on top of the confit, and always try and use a clean utensil when removing any cloves from the garlic so you're not introducing anything to the oil. When the confit is stored in the fridge, it will solidify, the olive oil will go firm. We just scoop what we need of the oil and the garlic out, and as it comes to room temperature, it thins out and is the same as when it first went in. Back to peeling and slicing more garlic, this time for fermented garlic in honey. You can either ferment your garlic in whole pieces, in cloves, sliced or even minced. It really depends on what you want to use it for. Some people like the diversity of having it minced because they can use it for a range of things. Fermented garlic in honey is quite literally just garlic in raw honey. You want to make sure you use raw, not pasteurized honey, and you want to make sure that all cloves of honey are covered. As the fermentation occurs, the honey will bubble and fizz, and sometimes it can get very active depending on your ambient temperatures. I like to leave mine out on the bench for a couple of weeks until the buzzing, the fizzing and bubbling slows down. Once that has occurred, I tend to store it in the fridge, and we use it for a myriad of things. You can eat the cloves straight out of the garlic, the cloves of garlic straight out of the honey. They are quite tasty. They're a lot more mellow after they've gone through the fermentation process in the honey. But mostly we use it for cooking purposes. It's great added to my pork minces when I make my homemade sausages. It's great to marinate chicken in, especially if you're going to smoke it afterwards. It gives it a really sticky crust, which is lovely. We also use it in our homemade mayo, so I will put a drizzle of the honey and a couple of the cloves into my mayo when I'm emulsifying it, and that adds to the flavour. You can use it for salad dressings or anything like that as well, and some people just consume it because it's got health benefit potentials because it's garlic in honey, and both honey and garlic are very good for you. You want to make sure that the honey gets all the way down into the bottom. As the fermentation process continues, the honey will thin out a lot and it'll make it a lot easier to move it around. You will have to rotate your jar a little bit every now and again, just to allow for the garlic that flows to the top to be covered by the honey as well. You can put a solid lid on it if you'd like, but you will have to make sure to burp it to let those gases out. I'm using a Kilner jar lid here that has a built-in one-way valve. We started work on the extension for the kitchen today as well. Yesterday actually, and Darryl's been working on it. This will go in. I'll wait for him to finish. This will go in for us to be able to move the kitchen further out and have more space. And it's pretty much done. That's all the wood we've got, so that's as far as we'll be going for the moment. And hopefully tomorrow it won't rain and we'll have time, we'll have a chance to try and start rearranging the kitchen, which will be really nice to give a bit more space there. And that's us for today. So hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.